Educational cost sharing. As I stated I would, I've been working very, very closely with Dr. Rivera as Superintendent of Schools. I'm pleased with the budget that the Board of Education has put forth. Dr. Rivera and the board have put together a reasonable and professional budget that I fully support. In spite of mandatory contractual increases of more than 4%, the overall increase in the Board of Education budget is only 3.6%. I also promised to be in Hartford to fight for funding for Norwalk for ECS funding. Since being elected, I've been at the state capitol 3 times. Each time I met with Secretary of OPM Barnes. Each time I stressed how unfair the ECS formula is for Norwalk. While nothing will change this legislative session, we will continue our fight. But I have to warn you that even fully funding the Board of Education's request will not produce the resources our children need because state funding of local education remains fundamentally inadequate, especially for Norwalk, Stamford, and other major urban areas in our region. It's clear to me that we will need more than just a persistent effort in the General Assembly to reform the formula. We will also need a state constitutional mandate to make sure the educational needs of our children will be met. Therefore, I will continue to support the education funding lawsuit by maintaining Norwalk's membership in the Connecticut Coalition for Justice in Education Funding. That was initiated by Mayor Knott and continued by Mayor Motion. And I plan to seek a more active role in the governance of this coalition of municipalities, boards of education, and parents by volunteering for membership on the CJIP Steering Committee prior to the start of this landmark trial, now scheduled to begin in September of 2014. In regards to development, I promised to sit down and talk to developers and find out what's holding up their progress, what plans are in place, and how they plan on moving forward. I've had several meetings with Head of the Harbor South, POCO, and General Growth Properties. I'm pleased to report that both Head of the Harbor South and POCO are making significant progress and are planning to have shovels in the ground within 6 months to a year. I will continue to meet with the developers and work with them and help them keep on that schedule. I've also met with General Growth Properties and have discussed their acquisition of the 95-7 parcel. So far, they've presented no plans, but I will continue to ensure that that parcel is developed to its highest and best use for future generations. There's a new development on Washington Street that's planned called the Pearl, and it's recently received funding to move the project forward. This project will provide more residential units in the area and valet parking during construction. Energy and Environmental Task Force. The environment and energy conservation has always been a top priority for me. Last month, I announced the formation of an Energy Environmental Task Force to be chaired by Councilman John Kites. This task force is comprised of various energy and environmental professionals. They will explore state-of-the-art energy efficiencies. They'll research both state and federal grants that are available to municipalities who employ those energy efficiencies, and they will act as a liaison and resource for future city development projects. I've also focused on reducing paperwork reduction. I propose to provide each common council member with a device to allow downloading of agenda items along with backup material. This will significantly reduce the paperwork that's generated in the city. We're hopefully going to start a pilot project within the next week or two, and then moving on to the rest of the council and perhaps other boards and commissions, so that they too can have downloaded information on their devices, whether it be a device that we provide or a device that they already have. But I also want to give each city council person and each board and commission member their own city email address. It's important to protect the privacy rights of council members, because if they use their own email address to conduct city business, under the Freedom of Information Act, their devices and their emails can be subpoenaed, and it will be disclosed to people that perhaps have no business looking at their personal emails. Appointments. During the campaign, I commented on the lack of diversity on our boards and commissions. I promised to seek appointments to more appropriately reflect the diversity of our community. My appointments and reappointments to date show major steps towards fulfilling that promise. I have a breakdown here of the diversity of the members that we've appointed to boards and commissions, including the Fire Commission and the Police Commission as well. Civility. It's one of the things that I commented, the lack of civility in government and in some of the offices in City Hall. There can be no doubt that we have brought forth a new level of civility in Norwalk's governing process. Thankfully, with the cooperation of all members of the Common Council, both Democrat and Republican, we've developed a strong and cohesive relationship within the Common Council. Council members are working together in an atmosphere of mutual respect, and members of the public who air their concerns are treated with respect and allowed to put forth their thoughts and ideas and opinions without fear of criticism. Citizens who come to City Hall for information or services now feel welcome, and I thank all the department heads, all the members of the Common Council for their working very hard to make that happen. What does the future hold? One of the things that I'd like to do is explore tax incentives for businesses to locate in Norwalk without pushing the tax burden back onto the shoulders of the homeowners. Senior tax relief. The current program was implemented around 2002 under the Knopf administration. It is time to review the program to see if changes can be made to allow our seniors the dignity of remaining in the homes they have worked so hard to maintain. Wall Street Task Force, in line with walkable cities. Similar to the Sono Task Force, to guide Wall Street development to reflect the recommendations of the Master Plan of Development, working together with the Sono Task Force to explore connectivity between South Norwalk and Wall Street, and to research a transit-oriented plan to provide access to all our attractions. Review of the paving plan. We all know that what the severe weather has done to our streets and sidewalks. Many roads have buckled, and there are many large potholes now that need repair. I will meet with the DPW director, who is here now, thank you, Hal, to review the proposed paving plan and make appropriate changes based on the conditions of our roads and sidewalks, rather than just an arbitrary schedule that needs to move forward. Sidewalk repair. City ordinance calls for regular inspections of sidewalks throughout the city and to work with property owners to ensure they are properly repaired and maintained. We'll discuss how we can put together an effective inspection process of our sidewalks. Development of an effective blight enforcement team. As you know, the last Common Council last year put forth a blight ordinance that deals with residential properties, and we've identified a code enforcement or a blight enforcement officer, but that officer would be working only on Mondays, and that's not enough to get the job done. So I'm going to explore how we can best utilize existing personnel to work with the blight enforcement officer so that when it comes time to finding a homeowner who lives in Florida, an absentee landlord, that will be able to do that and effectively enforce the blight ordinance. I want to find volunteers that can help remove snow from the sidewalks of people who otherwise cannot do that. I've met with David Shockley, who's head of our Sonic program, and tried to get the ball rolling as far as who can we find to volunteer to take the snow off sidewalks of perhaps seniors living on a fixed income who can't physically remove the snow and who can't afford to have it removed. We'll devise a process where they can sign up to have that snow removed. They can apply, and we can evaluate their situation, and hopefully when the snow is on the ground, that the volunteers will get boots on the ground and start moving forward and helping remove the snow, and then we can effectively enforce the blight or the snow removal ordinance. I'd like to thank Mike Mushak and David Westmoreland here for their efforts in the Golden Hill Street. It shows what a little effort can do when people put their minds to it. And they've had significant progress in getting people to shovel their sidewalks in the Golden Hill area. Thank you, gentlemen. So, with 3 months into my administration, I believe there's been significant movement in accomplishing many of the issues I brought forth during the campaign. While we have made much progress, there is much more to do to keep our momentum. I look forward to continue to working closely with the Common Council, as well as department heads, to keep Norwalk moving in the right direction. I also want to thank the citizens of Norwalk for the positive response they have shown to my administration. It's gratifying, overwhelming, and I thank them very much. So with that, I will